The screen wasn't supposed to look like that. It was 3 in the morning. And the rain was hammering against the window of my cramped Seattle apartment like it was trying to break in. I was only awake because the storm had knocked out the power for a second, resetting my router, and I just wanted to double-check that the transfer was scheduled. Tomorrow was closing day, the day I finally bought a house. A real house with a yard for my daughter, Emma, and a door that actually locked properly. I opened the escrow app on my phone, expecting to see $82,500 sitting there, safe and ready. Instead, I saw a zero, just a single, flat zero. I blinked, refreshing the page, thinking it was a glitch. It wasn't. Then a notification popped up at the top of the screen. Authorization code used, family recovery key. My stomach dropped so hard I felt dizzy. There was only one person on earth who had that key. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just froze, staring at the blue light of the phone, while the realization settled over me like ice water. It wasn't a hacker. It wasn't a stranger. It was Caleb, my brother. The person I had spent my entire life protecting. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from right now. And tell me, have you ever trusted a family member with a key to your life, only to have them lock you out? I didn't call him. That's what the old Liv would have done. The sister who spent her 20s bailing him out of debt and smoothing over his messes would have called him, panicked, and begging for an explanation. But that Liv didn't exist anymore. In her place was a forensic auditor. I put my phone down and opened my laptop. Emotion is just noise in an investigation. You have to filter it out to see the data. I logged into the security system of the apartment I paid for Caleb's apartment. I'd installed the cameras myself 6 months ago, when he claimed someone was trying to break in. He probably forgot they were even there. I pulled up the live feed. The apartment was empty. But I rewound the footage to 2 hours ago. There he was, Caleb, standing in the middle of the living room, holding a bottle of champagne. Brittany, his girlfriend, was laughing, spinning around with her phone out, probably recording a story for her 300 followers. And by the door, 2 large suitcases. They weren't panicked. They were celebrating. I switched tabs and accessed his cloud account. We shared a family plan, another safety net I'd set up for him. I scrolled through his recent messages. There was a group chat with our extended family aunts, uncles, cousins. My eyes scanned the texts he'd sent earlier that day. Liv is really losing it. Guys, he wrote. The stress of the house hunt broke her. I'm going to step in and manage her finances for a bit until she stabilizes. Don't worry if she calls you sounding crazy. Laven. And the next times. The Whisper campaign. He had preemptively painted me as unstable to cover his theft. He knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't just stealing my money, he was stealing my credibility. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark. For a moment, I wasn't an auditor. I was just a little girl again, standing by my mother's hospital bed, listening to her whisper, "Take care of your brother. Liv. He needs you." That promise had become a prison. I had built my entire life around being his safety net, his fixer, his second mother. I gave him the recovery key because I thought if something happened to me, he would step up. I thought he would protect Emma. Instead, he looked at my life savings money that represented every overtime shift, every missed holiday, every sacrifice, and he didn't see a future for his niece. He just saw a payday. The realization didn't break my heart. It hardened it. The brother I thought I had was a fiction. The man on the screen was a liability. And liabilities get liquidated. I reached for my phone to dial 911. But a small hand covered mine. I jumped. Emma was standing there in her oversized gaming hoodie, holding her tablet. Her face was illuminated by the screen. And she didn't look like a scared 10-year-old. She looked focused. "Don't call the cops yet, Mom," she said, her voice calm. "He's online. After as Niza." I looked at her, confused. "Emma, he stole everything. We have to." "I know," she interrupted. "But if you call the cops now, he'll panic and dump the crypto. He's moving it right now. Look." She turned her tablet toward me. It showed Caleb's Steam profile. Status, online. Playing, Apex Legends. "He's not just playing," Emma explained, tapping the screen. "He's using the in-game market to launder the transfer." I saw the wallet activity on the family dashboard. "He hasn't cashed out yet. It's pending in a tumbler." "Is that?" I stared at her. My daughter wasn't just playing Minecraft in her room all these years. She was learning the architecture of the digital world. "Can you stop it?" I asked. "I can annoy him," she said with a small sharp smile. "I can flood his port with requests. It's called a denial of service. It'll freeze his connection. He won't be able to confirm the transfer. And he won't be able to log out without losing the session key. Our directions. Do it," I said. Emma's fingers flew across the screen. Within seconds, the status light on Caleb's profile flickered. Then it froze. We sat there, in the silence of the storm, watching a digital tug-of-war. My brother was trying to steal a house. My 10-year-old was holding the door shut from the inside. "He's stuck," Emma whispered. "He can't move the money. And he can't leave the hotel Wi-Fi because he needs the IP address to verify. He's trapped." "Mom." And it's coming cited sadist ovening red. I looked at my daughter. For years, I worried she was too quiet, too absorbed in her screens. I thought I needed to protect her from the world. But she wasn't a victim. She was a partner. "Okay," I said, picking up my phone again. "Now we call Detective Silas. But we're not reporting a crime. We're coordinating a sting." End quote. My phone rang 10 minutes later. It was Caleb. He wasn't hiding. He was screaming. "What did you do?" "Liv?" His voice cracked through the speaker, high and frantic. "Why is my account locked? Why can't I move the assets?" I took a breath, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make him sweat. "Caleb? What are you talking about? What assets? Don't play dumb," he shouted. "The escrow account. I moved it for safekeeping. You were spiraling. Liv. Everyone knows it. I was protecting the family money from your episodes. And now it's stuck. Unfreeze it. Fix it. Or so help me God. I'll tell the whole family you tried to embezzle it yourself. I want it." The audacity was breathtaking. He stole $80,000 and tried to frame it as a favor. But I knew exactly what this was. It was narcissistic injury. He wasn't calling because he was sorry. He was calling because he couldn't handle the loss of control. Emma's hack had stripped him of his power, and his ego couldn't survive that. He needed to reassert dominance. He needed me to be the helpless little sister one last time. So I gave him what he wanted. "Caleb. Please," I said, letting my voice tremble. "I don't know what's happening. I'm scared. The bank sent me a fraud alert. I didn't touch anything. If the money is stuck, I don't know how to fix it. You're the tech guy. You have to help me. I can't lose this house. Inactionalated dissension bogatarity. God. You are useless." He scoffed, the panic in his voice replaced by a sneer. "Fine. I'll walk you through it. But you have to do exactly what I say. No questions. We need to screen share. I need to see your dashboard to bypass the security lock. Canatavalitive Wera." He took the bait. He thought he was guiding a clueless woman through a technical glitch. He didn't realize he was walking straight into a cage. "Okay." I sniffled. "Just tell me what to do." I'll send you the link. End quote. I looked at Emma. She nodded, her fingers hovering over the enter key. The trap was set. I sent him the link. To Caleb. It looked like a standard invitation to a private, encrypted server. A safe space where he could bully me into submission without witnesses. He clicked it immediately. Can you hear me? He barked, his face filling my screen. The video feed was grainy, but the details were sharp enough. He was in a hotel room, the generic beige curtains drawn tight behind him to block out the world. He looked sweaty, his hair messy, his eyes darting around the frame as if he expected the walls to start talking. He was a man running out of runway. Share your screen. Live. Now. He demanded, leaning closer to the camera. I'm trying, I said, fumbling with the mouse on purpose. I kept my voice small, shaky. It's loading. Ever. Hurry up, I don't have all night. I have a flight to catch. It's a bited 40%. Okay. I think it's working, I said. Are you in? Yeah. I'm in. Stop stalling. Just show me the wallet so I can bypass the freeze. End quote. He stared intently at his screen, waiting for my banking dashboard to appear. He didn't notice the small, semi-transparent icon in the top right corner of his display. He didn't notice the viewer count ticking upward at a rate of 500 people per second. He thought he was in a private call with his pushover sister. In reality, Emma had routed his connection directly into the open lobby of the Pacific Northwest Apex Legends Championship stream. Her friend, a moderator for the event, had patched us into the main broadcast feed during the intermission. 40,000 people were watching. I watched the chat box on my second monitor. It was scrolling so fast it was a blur of neon text, confused viewers asking if this was a skit, if this was part of the show. Then, as Caleb started speaking, the chat slowed down. They were listening. Listen to me very closely, Caleb hissed, his voice distorted slightly by the cheap microphone on his laptop. You are going to authorize the transfer to the wallet ending in 429. And then you are going to keep your mouth shut. Do you understand? Caleb, I said, dropping the shaky act just a fraction. That money was for a house. It was for Emma. Is never for, he scoffed, a sound that echoed through 40,000 pairs of headphones. Oh. Save the sob story. You think just because you got lucky with some corporate job you deserve everything? I earned this money. Live. I dealt with mom and dad's crap just as much as you did. I sat there while you went off to college. I took the hits. And Tenjira's statement, the entitlement was suffocating. He was rewriting history in real time, erasing the years I spent paying his rent, buying his groceries, fixing his mistakes. So you took it? I asked. You admit you took the $82,000? I didn't take it. He snapped. I reallocated it. I need this for my startup. You can always make more. You're good at being a drone. You love the grind. Right? So, grind? Let me have my shot. Enever says. The chat on the side of the screen, which Caleb couldn't see yet, was going nuclear. Is this real? Did he just admit to stealing 80 grand? Yo. Someone clip this? This guy is toast. Whoa. The audacity. End quote. Caleb kept talking, digging his hole deeper with every word, fueled by the silence on my end. He mistook my quiet for compliance. And if you tell anyone about this, he threatened, pointing a finger at the camera lens. If you tell Aunt Patricia or anyone in the family, I will release those emails. Live. I'll show them the medical records I found. I'll tell them you're having a breakdown and I had to step in. I'll ruin you. So just give me the code. As of this day, I stared at him. I looked at the man who shared my DNA. The man who had held my daughter when she was a baby. I searched his face for a flicker of shame. A hint of the brother I used to know. There was nothing. Just greed and fear masked as arrogance. You stole my daughter's home. Caleb, I said, my voice cold and calm. You stole $82,500 from your 10-year-old niece. I have verses. It's a loan, he screamed, slamming his hand on the desk. I'm taking a loan. Now give me the damn code. I looked at the chat. The verdict was in. The audience wasn't confused anymore. They were angry. I looked at Emma. She gave me a thumbs up. The moderator unmuted his mic. The voice of God boomed through Caleb's speakers. Loud and crystal clear. Yo. Caleb, the streamer said, his voice dripping with disgust. You just confessed to a felony in front of 40,000 people. Smile for the camera. Bro. Caleb froze. The blood drained from his face so fast it looked like the color setting on his monitor had been turned down to grayscale. His eyes darted from the camera lens to the corner of his screen, finally seeing what he had been too arrogant to notice before. The overlay. The viewer count ticking past 42,000. The scrolling wall of neon text moving so fast it was a blur of judgment. Thief. Imagine stealing from your own family. This is going on Reddit immediately. Caleb Miller found his LinkedIn. Rip his career. 2 5s and made sure. He stared at the chat, his mouth opening and closing like a fish pulled out of water. The swagger was gone. The bully who had screamed at me 10 minutes ago had evaporated, replaced by a terrified man realizing the entire world was watching him drown. What is this? He whispered, his voice trembling. Liv, what did you do? I audited you. Caleb, I said, my voice steady. You wanted a platform. You wanted to be a big shot. Well, here you are. Center stage. End quote. He scrambled backward, his chair screeching against the hotel floor. He lunged for the laptop, slamming his fingers against the keyboard, trying to kill the connection. He hit escape. He hit the power button. But the feed didn't cut. Emma had locked the session from the host's side. His screen was frozen on the broadcast. He couldn't leave. He was trapped in the spotlight he had always craved. But the applause was venom. Turn it off, he screamed, clawing at the webcam. Turn it off right now. I can't do that, I said. The data is already out there. But Caleb? There's one more thing you need to see. We did Godst. I signaled Emma. She switched the video feed on the main broadcast. My face disappeared from the stream, replaced by a grainy, black and white angle from a high position. Caleb stopped thrashing. He squinted at the screen. It was a hallway. A generic hotel hallway with patterned carpet. He recognized it. It was the hallway outside his door. Is that? He started. Room 304. I said. Detective Silas traced your IP address the second you logged on. You didn't just connect to a game lobby. Caleb, you connected to a sting. It's on the screen. A line of figures moved into the frame. They weren't wearing esports jerseys. They were wearing tactical vests. The man in front raised his hand, counting down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. Police! Open up! The sound of the shout came through Caleb's speakers a split second before the real-world sound smashed through his hotel door. The synchronization was terrifying. Caleb spun around in his chair just as the wood splintered. The door flew open, kicking inward with a violence that shook the camera. Plainclothes officers swarmed into the small room, weapons drawn, voices overlapping in a chaotic symphony of command. Hands! Show me your hands! Get on the ground, now! Caleb fell back against the desk, throwing his hands up in a pathetic gesture of surrender. He looked small. He looked broken. Brittany, who had been sitting on the edge of the bed this whole time, finally looked up from her phone. She let out a scream that was thin and sharp. She must have seen the notifications. She must have seen her own name trending on Twitter as an accomplice to grand larceny. The realization hit her. Her influencer dreams weren't just dead, they were evidence. She grabbed her designer purse and tried to bolt toward the bathroom. Maybe to flush something. Maybe just to hide. An officer caught her arm before she made it 2 steps. She spun around, crying, shouting that she didn't know anything. That it was all him. Throwing Caleb under the bus before the cuffs were even locked. Caleb Miller. Detective Silas's voice boomed. Audible, even over the live stream. You are under arrest for grand larceny, wire fraud, and identity theft. End quote. The chat went nuclear. Justice served. Live stream of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. End quote. An officer grabbed Caleb, hauling him up from the floor. They spun him around, forcing his hands behind his back. The metal of the handcuffs clicked a sharp, final sound that cut through the noise. As they dragged him toward the door, Caleb looked back at the laptop. He looked right into the camera lens. His eyes were wide, wet, and terrified. He looked like the little boy who used to hide behind my legs when it thundered, waiting for me to make the scary noise go away. Liv, he mouthed. I could read his lips perfectly. Help me. In the footage. I looked at him. I looked through the screen, past the pixelated image. Through 30 years of manipulation and guilt and gaslighting, I looked at the man who would have let me and my daughter starve just to fund his ego. I am helping you, I said softly to the empty room. I'm stopping you. It was now very, and for the industry. Emma hit a key. The feed cut to black. The legal fallout was swift and brutal. With 40,000 witnesses and a recorded confession, there was no plea deal that didn't involve prison time. Caleb was sentenced to 10 years. The judge cited the calculated cruelty of the crime and the use of digital tools to defraud a family member as aggravating factors. He tried to look at me when they led him away. Tried to find that old sympathy in my eyes. But I wasn't there. I was already gone. I recovered the funds. Because Emma had frozen the transaction mid-air. The bank reversed it within 48 hours. We didn't buy the house I had originally looked at. It felt tainted. Like it belonged to a version of me that was still a victim. Instead, we found a better one, a mid-century modern with a big backyard, and, most importantly, a dedicated server room for Emma. I stood in the empty living room on moving day, watching Emma eat pizza on the floor, surrounded by boxes. It was quiet, peaceful. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel the phantom weight of my brother's problems pressing down on my shoulders. I realized then that family isn't a suicide pact. Biology is an accident. Loyalty is a choice. You can love someone and still decide they don't get a seat at your table. I pulled out my phone and opened my password manager. I scrolled down to the entry labeled Family Recovery Key. I didn't hesitate. I hit delete. Then I changed every password. Every PIN. Every security question. I patched the vulnerability. For years, I thought love meant leaving the door unlocked. I thought it meant giving second, third, and fourth chances until there was nothing left to give. But I know better now. Love without boundaries isn't love, it's just exposure. And I am done being exposed. If this story made you realize it's time to change your own passwords, literal or emotional, hit that share button. And tell me in the comments, what is the one boundary you wish you had set sooner?